Hi, friends. In this particular episode of Understanding the Techniques and Methods of Film Editing, we would discuss about the methods of seamless cutting or seamless editing. By the word seamless, we mean when a thing flows from one to the other, or to say specifically in terms of film editing, when a shot flows from one to the other. Film editors all around the world have tried to make the edit as seamless as possible so that the audience don't understand that there was a cut in between. If we see a typical sequence, we'll see a lot of action happening. A person running, a person falling, and all these things go on happening. But what we realize finally is that the action has happened in front of our eyes. What we didn't understand is that there were a number of cuts that were used to make the action as a single continuous action. Only an investigating eye can detect that there were cuts in between. We can see an example of a simple action of two people running from point A to point B, where the number of cuts used were much more than what the audience acted. Seamless editing, the film editor is guided by a number of principles with which he can easily handle what he is trying to narrate. The first amongst them is called social knowledge. What do we mean by social knowledge? Social knowledge is something that we experience all the time, things that we see around us, our experience and interaction in our day to day lives. We walk, we interact, we talk to people, we see a sun go up, we see a sunset. All these things are part of social knowledge. When we are watching a film, we tend to get involved with the film, with the story psychologically. So we feel the film. In a way, we laugh, cry, feel sad, and also participate as the film proceeds. You must have seen something like participating in a game that is happening in films, but you are nowhere near the story. But this happens only in cinema. Let me give you an example. If you are coming to college, then you have to wake up, you have to get ready at your home, you have to take a bus, or you have to walk down, and then you enter your college, you go up the staircase, and then you reach your teacher. This must have been at least a 45 minutes work. But when I'm filming this, I won't use a 45-minute sequence. I would rather use 2-3 shots, one after the other. One at your house where you are getting ready, second one maybe on a bus, and the third one maybe on the staircase till you reach your teacher and your classroom. Who is filling up the gap in between? This is social knowledge. I also have the same experience of leaving our house and going to college, entering a gate, going up the staircase, and meeting somebody. So, when I'm narrating this story or when I'm filming this, I do not need to go through the entire process all over again. If I do so, that would be a very boring film. But in the same example, if something unusual happens in between, maybe you met somebody who is not from this world. Maybe you met with an accident. Anything can happen. In that case, the story comes back to real time. Because this is something that is not given by the social knowledge of the audience. This is where cinema excels, and this is where the cinema plays with time and space, especially with time. The second most important principle that the editor should follow is real time, real action. Let me give you an example. I have a scene where a person walks up to the door, opens the latch of the door, and goes out of that space into some other space. So I have to film this action. If I want to do so, I have to take one shot where I place the character with respect to the surroundings. That is, I have the shot of a room where I have the character who is walking towards the door. The next shot, if I analyze the line, it says a person is walking towards the door and he opens the door. So the first part of the sentence, the person is walking towards the door, is given by the first shot or the establishing shot. The second part of the line is he opens the door, which demands a shot of the door where he opens the latch. This can be a single shot, a closer shot of the latch, or at least the shot of the door where the character enters frame and opens the door. I don't need to establish the character anymore because opening of the door is a much more important action here. The third part of the sentence says that he opens the door and he goes out of the room and enters some other space. The third segment of the sentence says that he goes out of the room. In this case, the space becomes more important than the character or the door. So we will have a shot which establishes the space and the character within that space. So if we analyze real time and real action, we would be able to make out what to cut and where to cut. In some films, we have seen normal action happening in normal time. If I give you the example of a film like High Noon, here you will see an example of a scene where the person, after he is through with the conversation, the lady walks up to the door and opens it. The guy then walks out as she opened the door. In this case, the shot of the door is emphasized because the action here is more important than the character. We have often seen in films where the protagonist, or let's say in the context of Indian films, the hero gets beaten up by hooligans or villains, so to say. In that case, we often use normal motion, that is, real time and real action. But when the hero fights back, we use slow motion. Why are we doing this? Because real action is not so important, but the emotion that the hero is now fighting back is more important for the audience. So to enhance the emotion, we often use slow-mo so that the audience can cherish or get entertained by the fact that the hero can fight back. In many examples, we have seen the hero is getting beaten up and the director has opted for slow motion shots, as seen in this example. The third most important thing that the editor should know is matching on action. Matching on action as a film language technique is not only confined to matching the action from one shot to the other. Matching the action at a particular point gives a particular meaning to the narrative. Let us demonstrate what we are trying to say. A person in a scene is trying to drink water. There is a glass of water present in front of him, and he drinks the glass of water. In a long shot, we can take this as a single shot scene where the person holds the glass of water, brings it near his mouth, and drinks it. In certain other cases, we would like to break the action into 2-3 different parts. Like, we cut to a mid shot where the person does the same action. He takes the glass of water and drinks it. We can even get closer and have an extreme close-up shot of the glass of water. He holds the glass of water, the camera tilts up, and he drinks the glass of water. In these three cases, let us examine what is the difference. The narrative, although, is same across the three shots. But how can the editor decide what to keep, which part to keep, and what to delete? Let us say the narrative is that the person is very thirsty. In this particular narrative, we want the person to drink the glass of water. In this case, we will start with the long shot and then cut to a mid shot maybe, and then to a closer shot where he is actually drinking the glass of water. Where if I just narrate the story, drinking of the water is more important than the entire action. Let's say in the second case, I have a narrative where I have a poison in the glass of water. In this case, let us assume two different situations. One, the person who is drinking the glass of water is not aware of it, and secondly, he is aware of it. What happens in the first case? In the first case, the audience knows that there is poison in the glass of water, although the character who is drinking it doesn't know that there is poison in the glass of water. So, in the long shot, he will hold the glass, bring it towards his mouth, and then drink it. The drinking part of the entire scene would be extreme close-up because the emotion lies in the extreme close shot where he is actually drinking poison. The audience is tensed. They are speculating what's going to happen next. In the second case, where the person is aware that there is poison, what is going to be the set of shots? In this particular narrative, we will start with a close shot because the person knows that there is poison in it. So, the action that he is simply holding the glass of water is much more important. So, we'll have it on a close shot. Then he will take it to his mouth and then drink the glass of water. This is suicide. So, we can actually end the sequence in a long shot because the audience knows what is going to happen. The character also knows what is going to happen. So, the action no longer is important. The action of holding the glass was much more important than his drinking of the water. So, matching on action, as we see in this example, is important, but it is also important what the narrative is actually trying to portray. So, the cuts are defined by the narrative of the scene and not the action. The next principle on which the editor should base his style of storytelling is matching on different actions or matching on unrelated actions. We have seen this example in many films. When two actions which are not similar in nature but are connected with certain narrative thread. Say for example, a boy who is playing with a ball. He is throwing the ball towards a wall and the ball is bouncing back to him. When I have a frontal shot of the boy throwing the ball, the counter shot or the next shot would be the ball is hitting the wall. The third shot would naturally be of that boy who is taking the ball back. But in many films we have seen that the third shot has changed into something else. Like the third shot may be the shot of a person 20 years later, which immediately narrates the story that 20 years have passed in between. This is a technique that has been followed in many films. Let us give you an example from the film Cinema Paradiso. In this film, we can look at a sequence where the old projectionist, who is now blind, starts feeling the face of the young boy. As this is very interesting editing, and it has been appreciated by many across the cinema world. The next important thing that an editor should know is a jump cut. A jump cut is not a seamless cut. A jump cut is defined as a cut which is made within a shot. That is, it's a continuous shot and we cut the shot into pieces and we splice them together. A jump cut is visible as a cut. But why is jump cut necessary? Or why is it so appealing? With the film Breathless by Jean-Luc Godard, jump cut became a pattern or a style that was used in films. Jump cuts are still used in many films. Godard said that it was indispensable for him to use jump cuts because he couldn't take the counter shots. Jump cuts were used in the famous restaurant sequence in Jean-Luc Godard's Breathless, where we see the dialogues coming from the character from one angle only, and the dialogues are cut in between. The dialogue, when it was shot, was a little slow, and the director wanted later in post-production this to be a little faster. So he removed the portions which were not so necessary in the edit. But this became a pattern throughout the sequence where a girl is in the car and we see the girl talking to the other guy. We have seen the use of jump cuts. Jump cuts, first of all, makes the film look crispier because we only see what is necessary in the film and we do not wait for unnecessary continuity till the dialogue point is approached. In the particular car sequence, if we analyze the sequence, we'll see even the shots are cut in between when the girl is not at all talking. So it was definitely established as a pattern, and the cuts were not accidental, it was deliberate. We saw how the editor can take into account different principles while cutting from one shot to the other. In the next episode, we'll see what are the rules that the editor should follow while cutting from one shot to the other in terms of space and directionality.